Trade rumors continue to escalate for the Milwaukee Bucks as a new report has revealed a wild trade between the Bucks and the Los Angeles Clippers for a 3-and-D wing. We're going to break that down and discuss how the Bucks are now heavy favorites to land the forward. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. If you're a part of the 86% who aren't subscribed to the channel, we're getting super close to 1,000 subscribers. It's been a goal of ours for a while. So if you'd help us towards that goal and you enjoy daily Bucks content, this is the place to be, and hit that subscribe button if you're a part of the 86%. But let's dive right into it today. And this is a familiar face for us Bucks fans, and it is PJ Tucker. And a recent report has dropped revealing that the Bucks are heavy favorites to land PJ Tucker via trade with the Los Angeles Clippers. You can see this here. The Milwaukee Bucks are the favorites to win the PJ Tucker sweepstakes per Bovada official. So the Bucks are at -120, with the next closest suitor being at +325, and that is the Phoenix Suns. So if you're unfamiliar with the PJ Tucker situation, obviously he was a former Buck, but he is currently not playing with the Los Angeles Clippers. He's waiting until a team trades for him. So he's not going to be suiting up until a team trades for them, which means that the Clippers are obviously shopping him and are willing to probably trade him at a bit of a discounted price. Now, obviously, it is 2024, and we're talking about PJ Tucker sweepstakes, which is a little bit hilarious in itself. But regardless, it is going to be an interesting thing to discuss here. And being -120 according to these sports books is actually a pretty big deal. Obviously, they have some inside. Some people say they have inside info. Some say they don't. The point is that it makes a ton of sense for the Bucks. And at -120, they are the heavy favorites now to land the forwards. You can see here, sure enough, trade rumors began to escalate in one of PJ's old teams, the Bucks, where he has a glorious history, emerged as the most likely suitor as a per Bovada, an online gambling site. The Milwaukee Bucks are currently favorites to win the sweepstakes at a -120 odds. And again, the reason that they're favorites among reports, among, of course, it making a lot of sense, is that it would be a perfect situation for the veteran forward, as he briefly played with Giannis 3 years ago and even won his championship with the team, won the main championship. So, like we know with PJ Tucker, this is kind of the interesting thing. I know a lot of you fans out there now are probably saying, do we want PJ Tucker? He might be a little bit washed. He hasn't really had a great year in a while. But that being said, he's still pretty important. And we think back to the 2021 playoffs, he averaged 4.8 points over and 4 rebounds in those playoffs. And again, we think back to his championship run, he played a pretty big impact. And PJ Tucker, at this point, he's a little bit older. He was a bit old back then in 2021, but now it's 2024. He's obviously 3 years older. He's a very interesting player. He's been around forever. He's a veteran. And when you look at the Bucks depth chart, which we'll get into in a minute, we've been discussing on this channel a lot. There are some things that they're lacking. And one of the biggest things that they're lacking is defense from the guard. He's obviously not a guard, he's a forward, but from the guard and even the forward position. Defense in general for this team is going to be the biggest question mark heading into next season, because we saw it last year. Obviously, the Bucks were riddled with injuries, but the biggest problem was defense. And figuring out how to play defense and how the role players can play defense in lieu of Damian Lillard basically replacing Drew Holiday. Because now, of course, you have Damian Lillard and Giannis. Unbelievable offensively. It took them a little bit of time to figure it out, and they got hurt in the playoffs, and that ultimately cost them the playoff run last year when they got eliminated by the Pacers in the first round, which we'll discuss a little bit here as well. But ultimately, the biggest question mark going forward will be their defense. It's been the conversation entire offseason. We know that last year they had Adrian Griffin, and then they brought in Doc Rivers to try to, be a more veteran coach, because Adrian Griffin, was a rookie coach as a head coach, of course. He was assistant coach with the Raptors, and he wasn't able to kind of manage the stars properly. And they brought in Doc Rivers to hope to do that. They didn't really do a great job of it, but the biggest issue is always going to be defense, especially given the fact that Drew Holiday just went on to win a championship with the Boston Celtics, and they were one of the best, if not one of the best defensive teams in the league. So seeing that happen obviously hurts, but here's how PJ Tucker can help the Bucks win. You can see this here. It does seem like Tucker's time with the Clippers is about to come to an end. It was a pretty turbulent journey despite being a short one. When he revealed his desire to get traded, the league fined him $75K for his comments. Amid the drama, the Hooper said, "I don't know what's going to happen, but I have my fingers crossed and I'm hoping to go somewhere else, whether I get bought out or choose where I go or where I can play." Now, it doesn't seem at this point that a buyout is going to be likely for the Los Angeles Clippers. It seems like they're just going to hold him out and wait for a trade. That being said, at this point for the Milwaukee Bucks and even Los Angeles Clippers, his trade value is not very high at all. He's aging very much. He's a forward. He can play defense still, and that's what the Bucks need. You don't need him to go out there and play 25, 30 minutes a game. You can go out there and give him 10, 15 minutes of guarding the other teams, maybe not their best player, but one of their best players. Give guys like Gary Trent Jr. a bit of a break, even some of their good defenders, even just giving guys like Giannis a break from he's always been a perfect role player since his time in the NBA, and he went overseas for a little bit, he came back, and that's why he's so valuable in the NBA, and still is desired to a degree today is because of his tenacity on defense. And you look at it here, Damian Lillard, Gary Trent Jr., Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. We know that that's probably what the starting lineup is going to be. And if you can factor in, obviously they signed, recently acquired Taurean Prince, and they have Bobby Portis. PJ can play the 3 and the 4. We saw him play the small ball 5, and if the Bucks want to play small ball, you can throw Giannis at the 5, PJ at the 4, if you want to play a bit more of a defensive-minded lineup there. But having him play, again, it's not going to be a ton of minutes because they did sign Taurean Prince. They still have Bobby Portis, who is not necessarily defensive-minded by any means, but he's still a very solid player. You put him in there, you can factor him in for 10, 15 minutes a night. You play very good defense. He can sit in the corner. He's still a very solid corner three-point shooter. I don't hate it. I'm not saying I love it necessarily. I don't know exactly what a huge package would be like for the Milwaukee Bucks here getting PJ Tucker. It will not be a huge package at all, whether it's a pick, whether it's a part of a bigger deal with the Clippers that maybe includes Pat Connaughton, because his name has been thrown around in every single trade rumor, and he would replace Pat Connaughton to a degree. Obviously, Pat Connaughton is a 2-guard more than anything, but PJ Tucker he's not really a 2-guard, but he can play kind of anywhere besides point guard at this point. But it would make sense for the Bucks, especially if they want to add more veterans. Obviously, they're going kind of veteran heavy anyways. They have some young guys. Gary Trent Jr. is still only 25 years old. You have Taurean Prince, who's in his mid-20s. So it's like you're not really you don't have an aging roster necessarily, but you want to bring in guys that are going to help win championships. PJ's won a championship before with the Bucks. It makes a ton of sense to bring him back now with Doc Rivers. Some familiarity there as well. So it's just kind of like it makes sense for a lot of reasons, but ultimately the big question mark will be A, what does it take to get PJ Tucker? And B, will PJ Tucker, I'm sure he'd love to come to Milwaukee, but we know that, and you bring up some of the pictures here, we know that his time with the Bucks was interesting. He said they didn't do what I thought they should do, and that's the reason that he left the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, you can see here, the end of the partnership of both PJ and the Bucks left a sour taste in the side of the veteran. He said, Milwaukee, they didn't do what I thought they should do. It was like they just wanted to match. They're like, get an offer and we'll match whoever offers you. And I was like, you want better? I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to whoever offers me and you can keep your match. And then, of course, he went to the Heat. But based on this reasoning from Tucker, and this article was posted, of course, back in January 2024, but now talking about how they're favorites to land him, are the Bucks truly willing to ignite a Tucker reunion? He said, based on this reasoning made by Tucker, it's now finally clear why he ultimately cut ties with Milwaukee, and when he received the Heat, the 2-year, $14.4 million deal from the Miami Heat, he's now a Clipper. But again, maybe there's some ill will there, some bad blood. I think at this point, PJ Tucker will put it behind him. He won his only championship with the Milwaukee Bucks, so I think that a reunion there, playing with Giannis again, and now you get to play with Dame as well, could make a ton of sense. And I think it would ultimately be a good way for PJ Tucker to end his career, because at this point, he's aging. He doesn't have many years left in the NBA, and if he wants to go out and win a championship, the Bucks are put in a position to where they could use his services more than many of the other teams in the NBA, given their lack of defense, especially at the guard and wing position. Again, PJ's not a guard, but he can help play defense. He can really guard 1 through 5, probably not ones at this point of his career, really more 3 through 5, and occasionally guard a shooting guard. But again, 10, 15 minutes a game could make some sense. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. Do you want to see PJ Tucker a part of the Milwaukee Bucks given their current construction? And again, the trade package Bucks wouldn't be giving up anything crazy. They might even wait out for a buyout, maybe a second round pick, something like that. Let me know in the comments. We'll see you soon.